Hey, folks, we are back with Michone, and divorce is never easy. We were just talking backstage about how significant of a decision this is. And yet, when you have to make a decision like this in life, you really want extreme professionals. And that's exactly what the strategic divorce process is all about. So, Michone, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How does one get into this process as well?
Thank you, Carrie. So we created the process because as a divorce attorney, I see people struggle with how scary divorce is. The unknown
Mm,
is big and bad. So our goal is to demystify divorce, and it's not just in Illinois. It's nationwide. The things that we're talking about apply to everybody that is thinking about a divorce. It helps them categorize the items that they have to make decisions about and gives them enough information so that they're
mm.
not frozen in fear. They're able to decide if this is what's best for them, and then they have the information necessary to move forward.
I want everybody who's watching this to share it, to tag somebody, not because they need to, get a divorce, but I'm telling you, this can be a very, my guess, Michonne, is that it's not a sudden decision with a lot of people. In other words, it's probably been years and years of them thinking about it, pros and cons. And then you really want to talk with somebody who's professional. And you and I were just chatting backstage. You don't sell divorce. In other words, I've seen billboards that say life is short, get divorced or something like that. Have you seen those ones?
I've seen them. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
This,
So that's not what you're talking about. You can't untie something that's been tied together for a very long time easily. And so how does your process eliminate some of that pain and make it just a better experience?
So the goal with the process is to demystify divorce and to allow people to see what it looks like. There are 5 areas. So if you have children, there are 5 areas. The first area is decision making for the children. Second
Mm,
area is visitation and who has the children all 365 nights of the year. And then child support. So if you have children, those 3 areas come into play. If you don't have children, the other 2 areas are the only 2 you have to worry about, which is the division of assets and debts. And then the final one is spousal support, whether that's maintenance, alimony. It's all the same thing. It's called different things in different states, but you make a decision whether one spouse or the other is in a financial position where they need to continue to support the other spouse for a period of time. And those 5 areas are all that the divorce breaks down to. Now, divorce is really an emotional issue more than a financial issue in many cases, but
mm,
our goal is to help people see it as a business deal. Even the child issues, it's really about getting this done, making sure we're focusing on the best interest of the children as we make decisions. And rather than talk about whether you can get the other person to burn in hell or not, because I can't, nor can you, we need to move on and try and address the things that we can address in
mm.
hopes that the family, both sides of the family, get to move on, which is what's best for everybody.
That is powerful. So, has there ever been, this is a weird question, but I'm sure people want to know, has there ever been a good divorce, meaning that you've seen two people in pain and that the divorce is a powerful conclusion? It's not perfect, but there's resolution, conclusion, and the ability to move on with your life. What do you think?
Almost every one of the divorces, I see that. There are
Really?
some, unfortunately, where one or the other side can't move forward.
Mm,
But I would say 90% of my divorces end in 2 people being much happier separate than they were together, in them being more able to co-parent their children than they were in the same house.
mm,
And they each get the opportunity to see that future that's out there. They have an opportunity to get there, because what was going on 2 years earlier was they were stuck in a mire of bad and not positive, and they
wow.
weren't able to go forward, not, at least not with any happiness. So as soon as they get the opportunity to start over, and to start over even with their ex-spouse, to start over in two separate houses with boundaries, they're all happier. And I can't think of anybody that has come back ever and said, I wish I hadn't gotten a divorce. It
Wow.
just happened.
Wow. So you really slow it down. And like you said, each state is different. And so here's a question. What if somebody's watching this and they live in Mississippi or Texas or something? Do you only work with people in Illinois, or what are you thinking?
I work with people in Illinois and Wisconsin. But the answer is, if you go on Strategic Divorce's website, you email me and say, hey, I need a referral to somebody in Mississippi. I actually have an attorney that we refer to in Mississippi, but it's important that a professional that really keeps their client's best interest forefront, rather than somebody who is doing divorces, heightening the acrimony, creating drama. Choosing your divorce attorney is a very important part of that process.
I'm looking at this. This is amazing. So you really, I'm from Wisconsin, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, but Waukesha, West Dallas, New Berlin, the whole thing. So you are in Illinois, you're in Wisconsin, but you have strategic contacts in other places. And I think that the coolest thing is that your book really helps anybody in any state, even though there are unique states, this process, the strategic divorce process. We talked about, I asked you offline how many years you have in experience. And I mean, you said your team and you have 20 years, about 20 years of experience.
Right. And I have some of my attorneys have been practicing.
Wow.
Yep. I've got more than 20, more than 25, in fact, which makes me old, but that's okay. I also have attorneys here that have 40 plus years of experience. Each of our attorneys has different specialties, but this is what we do for a living and we love it.
And a specialty could be like a situation. I mean, I'm shooting the darts here, but like a domestic violence situation. I mean, do you ever see that where one of the spouses is actually in physical danger?
Yes. And what we do is we help them by getting an order of protection, is what it's called here in Illinois. It may be called a domestic restraining order in other jurisdictions, but that's extraordinarily urgent, and it's just necessary to get that protection from the court system so that you can breathe and make other decisions. And once we help them get that order of protection, or that domestic restraining order, it allows them to be in the house. It allows them to be with their children. It allows them the safety to make decisions. Because when you're in fear for your life, or you're in fear for your safety, you cannot make good decisions. Your brain just doesn't do it.
Wow, that's powerful. You've obviously done some fantastic articles. Your website has videos on it, testimonials. I mean, you can tell that this is really something that you're passionate about. Where do you find your why? In other words, this is a tough topic. And
I'm sorry, Carrie, we again?
Okay, your why, the why behind what you do.
So I didn't hear your question. You were breaking up. Could you just repeat the last?
No problem. So, like, what gets you up every day? What's your why? WHY. What's your why to get back to work every day?
I love my job, and it's because I get to help people get from where they're at. I allow them and help them to see where they want to be a year from now, and I help them get there. And helping people, each of our team members, that's what gets them up in the morning. That's what gets me up in the morning, is to know that somebody is in pain and that they don't have a clear process, a clear path to get where they want to go. And so helping them is why we do it. And it makes it all worthwhile.
That's awesome. Wow. So you're really helping people. Have you gotten over the years, the kids, have any kids ever come back or experienced a better result? I know that sounds kind of, it's a tough question, But you hear a lot of times that kids are the ones who suffer in a divorce. Have you ever seen positive things happen with the kids?
Yes. So a number of examples of that. I've had kids from divorces that I have handled come back and work for me. Even some of them have gone to law school, and they are extremely positive professionals that do a great job. One is already a divorce attorney. So I've seen very positive things, but what I see the most is that when you get divorced, your kids model after you. And when you get divorced, you stop the negative, toxic environment that those children are living in every day, learning what it looks like to interact with a spouse, learning what it looks like to interact with someone of the opposite sex in a way that's negative. You stop that, and you can change that messaging so that you and your spouse are able to interact with each other on a more positive level, or at least not as often, so that those kids aren't being taught that that's what a healthy relationship looks like, because it's not healthy. And most of my clients move on to marry again, or at least have significant relationships that those kids see, and they see the positive relationships and the positive role models. Whereas before the divorce is final, they are not watching positive things. And it allows you to stop that negative messaging to your children.
Wow, that would be amazing to have somebody come back and work with you. You know, that means that you've really made an impact in their lives. I think that your book says that 50% of marriages end in divorce. And so nobody wants to plan for the end in mind. But are you seeing a shift in our generations where, 50 years ago, people didn't plan on divorce from the beginning? I don't think anyone plans on divorce, and yet about prenups and this type of stuff. What's kind of shifted? Give us some thoughts on what's shifted about marriage in general. Are people hesitant to get married still? What do you think?
So I think people are getting married a lot later in life. It used to be that people got married when they were 18. Then it changed to 22. The average age of people getting married is much older than it was 20 years ago. The other thing that I'm watching is that because people are getting married older, they have a life, and they have already habits and things that are important to them. And it seems as though they're communicating that more efficiently and more effectively than maybe people did 20 years ago, because they know who they are. So as they're getting into relationships, in theory, they're bringing more knowledge of themselves to the table, which should help. The divorce rate isn't going down, and I'm surprised by that, because people are getting married at an older age, and they're getting married after they've had started their careers and done other things. I do see an uptick in prenuptial agreements. This newer generation is doing prenuptial agreements, which is wonderful. The idea of a prenuptial agreement sounds negative, but it's not. It's not that you're planning to get a divorce. What you're doing is, while you're in love, while you want what's best for yourself and the other person, while you're not angry, you're making a decision what would be reasonable if you got divorced. And that is such a gift to give yourself. Because if you make that decision while you are in love and while you are reasonable and rational and you're not angry, the outcome is much more positive, and it's much more reasonable. And it allows people to not plan for divorce, but to put that into effect so that in the event of a divorce, they've already made those decisions. And those decisions don't have to be made by a judge. They could be made by their more rational self from before.
Wow. I'll be honest, I've never heard it positioned like that, but it makes a ton of sense that you don't plan. It's like buying life insurance. I I bought life insurance as a
Yes.
very young man, because I realized my kids and wife, you know, have to have things provided for. So I'm not saying that life insurance is the same thing as a prenup, but it is interesting that you said when you're in the right state of mind, when you want what's best for the person, you're thinking these things. So that's very interesting. Let's talk a little bit about we talked backstage, and thanks everyone for your patience. We were just having some tech things, but we're good now. But we were chatting pre-show about some of the temptations, and you mentioned pornography. These days you see all kinds of new temptations. We have these devices that are powerful, but the devices can bring in new temptations into marriages. Has that been an uptick? And if so, connecting with old exes and stuff like this, I mean, I can't imagine all the stuff that you have to face.
So the phones are both powerful and painful because they not only give you access to so much, they record it. There's that history. And so what I find is things that things that a wife would never find or a husband would never find are now readily available. Separately, I think a lot of people forget that their phone monitors where they're at all times. And it's very, if you've got a family Apple plan, everyone knows where you're at. Even though I've got clients whose husbands were on 360 or wives that were on Find My Friends, even though that's true, I think they forgot because they went places and did things that they just shouldn't have been doing. And it was easily recognizable by the other spouse. The phone causes it gives you a lot of opportunities. Let's just say it. Like foot pics. I've had 2 divorces about foot pictures. Really? I know. It's a thing. But it didn't used to be. It didn't used to be on your phone, on a device that when you went to bed and plugged it in was right there for your spouse to pick up and look at. And unfortunately, it causes a lot of acrimony in a marriage if there's things on that phone that you expect.
What was that word you just said? I've never heard that before. Something moany. What did you say? What was that word?
Oh, acrimony.
Acrimony. Explain.
Sure. Acrimony is pain. It's what I call the drama, the crisis, the frustration that really is a part of divorce. And acrimony is something that we try very hard to reduce. Now, some divorce attorneys, they believe that the more acrimony, the better. My gosh, I can't believe that happened. Let's file a motion. Let's do this. Let's do that. And the acrimony goes up and up. We at Strategic Divorce tried very hard. And what we put in the strategic divorce process is we tried very hard to reduce the drama, reduce the pain, reduce the fighting, reduce the reaction, the reaction to a stimulus. If you can take a minute, process it, and then calmly give a response rather than a reaction, it reduces the drama in a divorce. And one of the things you need from a divorce attorney is their guidance in reducing the drama, the acrimony. Because if your divorce attorney ratchets that up, it's going to cost so much more financially, emotionally, time. And divorce attorneys are paid by the hour, which is just the way it is. It is. And so if they can keep that case going, they continue to be paid. Whereas at Strategic Divorce, we believe that every client that we make happy and get them done with their divorce as quickly as possible sends other clients to us. And so rather than creating acrimony and drama, we try and get them done as quickly as possible, tamping down the heightened emotions. So our goal very much is to get everybody to move forward, to see what is best for everybody in the family, and to protect them from whatever we can, so that the divorce finalizes.
Mhm.
If you get an attorney that focuses on getting things calmed down, it's going to be better for your family. It doesn't mean that you're going to get less money. In fact, you'll probably get more because the attorneys will get less and there's more to divide. It doesn't mean you're going to get a deal that's not as good. Attorneys create acrimony and stress and drama, not because it's what's best for their client, but it's what keeps things going. So our goal at Strategic Divorce is to calm things down, be rational, and make decisions from a business standpoint, from a calm, considered standpoint, rather than from a place of emotional, heightened, scared.
This makes a ton of sense. I am learning a lot about this. And you know what? I'll tell people that you might say, "Hey, I'm 100% happy in my marriage." Fine. Listen to this, get the book because you can be a good friend. Because that means that half your friends who are married are going to be in a situation that they didn't dream of. And by you reading the strategic divorce process, you can actually be a better friend and give the person sound advice at a time where emotions are high and maybe it's not easy to be receptive of sound advice. What do you think? Do you think this would be a good book for friends to get, just to be a better friend?
So if you have a friend that's going through a divorce, this would be a wonderful gift.
Mm,
And I don't think if you're not going through a divorce, you should have it in your house, because that's a message you're not really wanting to send to your spouse. But if you have a
ah,
friend going through a divorce, getting the book for them would make a lot of sense.
that's perfect. That's perfect. Well, listen, this has been mind-blowing, Michonne. What would you like people to know? Like, what's something that we haven't chatted about? I see your 5 steps. I see that 3 are when you have children involved in the situation. But is there anything else that we're missing that you wanted to mention related to either your fine practice in Illinois and Wisconsin or the book itself?
Thank you, Carrie. The thing I want to emphasize is that in a divorce, your job is to protect yourself and your family's future.
Mm,
And if you're upset, if you're irrational, if you're emotionally not there yet, you can't do it. So you need to get a divorce attorney who moves you towards the end, moves you towards your future, helps you see what your future looks like,
mm.
says to you, if we're talking about this in a year, where do you want to be? And they help you get there. And I think protecting that future is so much more important than the emotional pain that you're feeling, or the emotional pain that some of my clients want to inflict, because they're hurt. They want to inflict the same or similar pain. And if they can get by that, this book really tries to point out that you have to get by the emotional pain to be able to protect yourself and your family in this. This is a legal proceeding. It's
Mm.
not an emotional proceeding. So you've got to get by the emotion to protect yourself. And hopefully the strategic divorce process will help people see how to do that.
That was gold. Wow, we could quote that. Divorce is a legal decision, not an emotional one. Legal process, the whole thing. I mean, when I had to hire a lawyer for business situations, intellectual property protection is a big one. I don't want to navigate anything by myself, whether it's my car engine goes out, whatever. Like, I think it's absolutely worth it to hire a professional when you're going through something that you don't understand. Because if you do not, you will be paying 10x the cost
Yeah.
because you have mistakes. I mean, you see it every day. And I think going to the strategic divorce makes a ton of sense. So, Michonne, this was an absolute blast. We're putting your website strategicdivorce.com. That's a fantastic website, by the way. Love it. Lots of great help there. The book is on Amazon. It's available in multiple versions. You can get it on Prime and get it extremely quickly. But Michone, thank you so much for being here today, my friend.
Carrie, thank you for all your help and expertise.
All right, take care, folks. Get that book and make some great decisions. We'll see you.
Thank you.